though the payoffs were much less in Mid-South compared to the WWF. Where did you have a better time? Mid-South seems like it was a great time with great guys and many legends.
Uh, I had a great time in Mid South. I mean, it's kind of like Mid South was like the right at the end of the what we call the territory era. Territorially, I guess it more fun in terms of we all, you know, it was kind of like a caravan. You know, it's kind of like once I went to the WWF, I wasn't traveling by car anymore. We were flying everywhere,
Yeah.
and uh, when you're driving, it was a lot different. Like I can't remember the Monday nights were back in Mid South days, and it was a big territory, huge, but just like one of the circuits. Uh, a lot of guys lived in Baton Rouge, so we'd wrestle in New Orleans on Monday night. That's easy. That was like an 85-mile trip. We'd wrestle in Baton Rouge on Tuesday night. So that's almost like you're 2 nights sleeping in your bed at home in your apartment. And then so either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, you would get up and drive, 240 miles to Shreveport for the sole reason of going to the TV studio and doing interviews for that week's TV show.
Mm.
And then after interviews are done, then that would be like from like about 8:30 or 9 o'clock till noon. Then you'd have lunch, get in your car, and you would drive 200 miles east to Jackson, Mississippi, and wrestle in Jackson Wednesday night. And a couple ways. Either you stayed over in Jackson Wednesday because Thursday you were going to go north 100 miles or 120 miles, either to Greenwood or Greenville, Mississippi. Wrestle there, wrestle there now on Thursday night, and then from there drive all the way back to Baton Rouge. Now it is from Jackson because I live in a suburb of Jackson, Mississippi now. It's 180 miles from here to Baton Rouge.
My
So
goodness.
that's a 280 or maybe almost a 300-mile trip, depending on whether you were in Greenwood or Greenville, back to Baton Rouge on Thursday night. And then Friday, you would wrestle either in there were a few possibilities. One place was a little place called La Ranger. I mean, La Ranger is so small. It is but they would pack this little building, and it was like only I mean it was like 30 minutes from Baton Rouge, and this little bitty town. Or you might go to Lafayette. Lafayette was 30 or 40 minutes I think from Baton Rouge, and yeah, and wrestle there, and then you go back home. And then Saturday, depending on what week it was, once Bill Watts bought Houston, we would drive all the way to Houston, and wrestle in Houston on Saturday night, and drive back.
How long was that trip?
Oh my gosh, it was like 350 miles, I
Oh,
think.
my goodness.
The only time that we would fly is Bill Watts would fly us like from Baton Rouge on a Saturday. He'd fly us to Oklahoma City, and we would work a show at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that would be over at 3. And then we would get in our rental cars, and drive 100 miles to Tulsa and do an evening show, and then get on a plane in Tulsa Monday, fly back to Baton Rouge, get in our cars, and drive to New Orleans. It was nuts. It's like sometimes I think about that and I said, God, I can't believe I did that. And I mean, but then once we went to the WWF, I mean, and most of that was flying, but a lot of times what Vince would do was he would like fly us into, say, Chicago, and maybe, okay, you work in Chicago on Friday night, and then Saturday you go about 100 miles north to Milwaukee, and then on Sunday you go another I don't know how far it is from Milwaukee to Green Bay. Work in Green Bay on Sunday night, and then Sunday night drive all the way back, stay over in Chicago, and then catch a flight out Monday morning. But still, it's travel. I mean, travel, 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 but not all of it was by car. And and again, because of the traveling by car most of the time, the camaraderie and yeah, I don't know, it was just I guess it was like a little less stressful than flying and having to be sure you don't miss your flight, and you got to get your rental car, and you got to do this, you got to do that. We were just driving, you just got your car and you went. But the end of the territory days, you know, I hated to see him go.
Man, hearing all the stories about the territories, and gosh, there's a lot out there now in this podcasting era. Man, it sounds like it sounds crazy. Don't get me wrong. It's like the inmates were just out
Yeah.
running loose across across the country. But the fun you guys must have had, stories, drinking, like probably a great time when you're in your 20s.
Oh gosh, and I was, yeah, yeah.